Howdy, all you delicious people. Today I'm here just to really just play DC Universe Online. One thing that I want to make clear before we start this recording is there is not going to be the latest and greatest of content on here. I am a man of no budget means. So realistically, I did know a lot of stuff about the things that are in this game, but could I actually obtain them? No. So realistically, I'm just a man here trying to do as much as he possibly can with the limitations that I have. So yeah, this probably isn't going to be the most bells and whistles, spectacular gameplay of this, the newest, freshest content, what have you. It's just me, just wanting to show people with the limitations, and I will explain limitations of wardrobe that this game eventually does have. Because people are saying wide variety of options, what have you. I'll explain more as we go, but in the beginning, I'm going to be quiet because there's somewhat of a story, even though the story isn't exactly the freshest, latest thing. It's a 2011 story, so let's just get on with that, so we can get on with some stuff. If anything, for some of this, honestly, a big chunk of recording that I was doing got taken out for some reason. So I just kind of just went along with the ride. So I will explain that when it comes up, and I will be heartbroken that it had to come up, because I was just like, I would have wanted every minute of this to be covered, so that way you guys can see me explain things and what have you, and me have fun really going through some of these things, but all for naught. So let's get on with this. Giganta.
Lantern! Pick on someone your own size! Cyborg, concentrate fire on Luthor while I call down some artillery. Deathstroke, time for you to join the party.
If anything, wide variety of characters. Really. I was so surprised about how many different characters there were used in this game.
Come on! We've got lots of murdering to do.
And how original some of the original voices were used.
Lose something? Greetings, sister.
Kind of sets up who the mentors are, so that way you get aware of who they are, because you're going to be working with them for a very long time. Green Lantern ring. If you get DLCs, you can wield a ring. Each one of the DLCs costs about probably around $10 or more. Some of them cost $15. the cheapest DLC is free, but the only one that's free is
This? Nobody kills the bat but me!
you gotta be a PlayStation Plus member. So yeah, not so free.
Call him! Bring him to me!
Madman! Adam! Get him! 'Cause magic. Superman's only weakness is magic.
You don't deserve to live! Diana.
Who knew Diana
I am mere man.
be eating some kryptonite?
You've lost everything. No, I beat you. Luthor!
Yeah! Oh! You killed all the heroes, buddy!
Brainiac had returned. For years he'd been stealing the powers of Earth's protectors, but we were too busy fighting amongst ourselves to see the danger. With you three dead, Brainiac quickly eliminated the remaining heroes. The lucky ones died fighting. Finally, I alone survived. A rat in the walls of the Brainiac construct. I have traveled through time to warn you. This is my past, but your future. And it means the end of humanity, so together we must change it. What have you done, Luthor? Given you a fighting chance. He's lying. It's some kind of trap. Why should we trust you? Because if you don't, Earth is doomed. I've stolen Brainiac's exobytes, released them into Earth's atmosphere. They hold the powers stolen from the heroes and villains of my time, and will bestow them on anyone they conquer. The exobytes will create a new breed of superhuman and fight Brainiac's invasion. You must teach them to use their new abilities, for they must be on the front line of the coming battle, or my grim future will become your own.
Kind of like the X-Men Legacy
I hope I am
game.
not too late, for I will not be here to see this new future. My work is not yet done. I must leave this Earth to you. Claim the exobytes and take destiny into your own hands.
Targets identified. Select gender and body type.
Yeah, my customizing. So, realistically, there is a lot of options to an extent, but if you don't have every DLC under the sun, your options are very limited. Realistically, there were several powers. Mainly powers was a big thing for me. I didn't really care about whether certain things extended through story.
Exobyte download type.
My whole thing
Select a
was,
hero or villain morality.
how could I best play this right away? Like, there are so many decisions that it took me a while to, like, really just narrow down what I wanted to do. Ultimately, hero and villain thing was
Select a personality to determine social behavior.
something that I really had to play up against. But ultimately, for me, I chose to be a villain was simply just because, like freaking
Select a mentor as the guidelines for data application.
was just like the new 52 mentors for this game was set up for the heroes, so that's why I was just like, I never
Select power group from available exobyte data to determine combat role.
I never would have wanted Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman in my frickin' book right away. And I think that's the reason why I kind of stood against being villainous. A lot of the ones that I'm scanning through now are ones that come with DLCs. If anything, of course, the Lantern Rings, I'm sure, would appeal to anybody. They have the Rage Lantern, they have the Green Lantern, the Yellow Lantern, and just a whole bunch of interesting other DLCs of interesting powers. Again, with probably the list of so many extra added things in here, it's exhausting to talk about how many several different options that you could probably have. If anything, for me, I picked, considering I was a villain, my power that I picked was sorcery, and I did that on purpose. Was because one, my character is a supernatural character, is what I was going to go with. But on top of that, Superman's greatest weakness is magic, so that's kind of where I went with there. Realistically, not a huge amount of options for movement. Realistically, I really would have rather have had skimming, but beggars can't be choosers. Realistically, I
Select weapon specialty from available
ultimately went with flying, was just because I was kind of forced to. People said that flying was very hard to control, which you'll find that out. It's very hard to control in this gameplay. But it's kind of hard to master, is what I should say. But yeah, I kind of just picked
Display
dual
exobyte
pistols
download summary. Appearance options now available. Modify any category as desired.
because,
Download when ready.
again, things were heavily low on options. And realistically, dual pistols for me was yeah, this is my option. If anything, first off, looking at all the skins in this game, I'm like, man, this has so much replayability via so many skins. And I honestly wanted to do Undead. The Undead skin is kind of what I wanted to go with first. The only problem is you don't get a lot of short-sleeved options in this game. It's either a long sleeve or one or two short sleeve things that you're just like. So I'm either gonna look like Bruce Willis from Die Hard, or I'm gonna look like a legitimate superhero. So yeah, I chose Undead Skin. If anything, I'm gonna have an interesting, vastly different look than maybe some people. But yeah, this just starts off at me just being here for some reason. Looking back at it, I'm like, oh man, this is such a huge missed opportunity. Like, you missed the tutorial.
This area was built over powerful occult magics, which can tip either toward good or evil. Dr. Fate has created a purifying ward in the hopes of trapping the demon Lord Trigon in his dimension. His sentinels of magic think their pitiful enchantments can stop us. Show them they are sadly mistaken.
yeah, it's like you missed so much tutorial, so much what have you, and the ultimate, like, how my character really actually looks. But if anything, that's what the thumbnail's for. Hopefully, for you guys can possibly see what my options were, what I was working with, and there was one thing that I honestly should have went with, as far as, like, there was one mask that was a skull, and I was like, man, I really want to play as this, like, I should have put on, like, an actual skull mask, because really that would have fit my character perfectly, but I don't know, the mask, it was just, so I kind of just went with a very much bland white mask, because realistically, when I was going through this whole thing, I was just kind of really and honestly looking for, what things would look the coolest, because that's what you gotta look for in, costumes, is just... Our wards will protect the people! Yeah. So, realistically, if anything, we're gonna go through a lot of missions here, and we're going to need specific, we're going to need to be able to, yeah, we're going, you understand why that I needed flying, was really just to, say I completed a mission.
Start. Now, the Sentinel base is guarded by a protective spell, which only grants access to the Pure of Heart. Find Brother Blood's cultists. They'll give you something to bypass the spell.
But yeah, we basically went from skipping all the tutorial to end up going into me being level 5, which
Cersei's new spell slinger.
I was
good right out of pure-hearted civilians.
I was honestly just really furious about.
Use that gem to drain essence from the innocent. Enough essence, and you can enter the Sentinel base.
I thought the Sentinels would protect me. They're all talk.
No further.
But yeah, I chose magic again, because it's Superman's weakness, because probably out of all the DC characters, I probably like, Superman the least, so realistically, if I was going to be a villain for anybody, it would probably be Superman, so that was my plan. The only thing is, I chose Xerxes, which is Wonder Woman's arch nemesis, because
incantations in the scroll are difficult to make out.
These
probably for the best.
Think the Sentinels of magic will protect them. Destroy any protective wards that the Sentinels have put in place.
Because I wanted some supernatural missions. I wanted to do, like, every aspect of supernatural thing that I can possibly muster out of this game. I think when a lot of people play this right off the bat, a lot of people, from what I've seen, from what things that I saw on YouTube, a lot of people will go straight to Joker or Batman, because everybody loves that. And a lot of people will just kind of go the same route. A lot of people will choose a lantern ring. If I had to choose one, obviously, it's pretty straightforward that I love Rage. I love the Rage Red Lantern, and that's what I would pick.
Why are you doing this to me?
If it fit my character or not, wouldn't matter a lick of sense to me, because realistically, I love the Red Lantern Corps.
It burns!
So yeah, I would much rather, even though it would probably make more sense to be a Yellow Lantern, because Yellow Lantern is fear, I don't care about whether it would fit my character or not. I just would matter if it's the color I'd like. And if you're wearing any of the freaking Lantern colors, you should actually be wearing the Lantern colors. If you're a Red Lantern, you should be wearing red. If you're a Green Lantern, you should be wearing green. If anything, the thing that kind of really bugged me was just the fact that I'm like,
So he loved you. Are you supposed to be?
that why don't we have Black Lanterns?
Okay, look, I'll do what you want. Just don't kill me.
Like, the Blackest Night was a big event for this game. Why don't we have Black Lanterns?
How about you try picking on someone your own size?
Like, to really, if you're gonna go all out and have, like, the undead skin and what have you,
Sure, Mr. I'd be happy to run the store for you after work.
like, and I know Red Lanterns, there's not a huge, wide difference of power sets and what have you, but yeah.
Nice
If anything,
outfit, freak. Get lost.
one thing that I want to mention is just the fact that, like,
Look, jerk. Get out of my face.
is just the fact that it's like, well, I'm sure a lot of people will probably watch this and they'll probably critique it and they'll probably just be like, yeah, you should have done this and you should have done that and blah blah blah. It is what it is. Again, I'm not trying to be the greatest ever at this game. I'm just trying to put a new superhero game out there and say that I hopefully played it and did something interesting. If anything, for a lot of this stuff, like, I didn't understand right away what I was supposed to be doing. And then I started, like, kind of putzing around, and I was like, oh, this is what it wanted me to do. Oh, okay, I understand. Because realistically, there's not a huge amount of, like, it tells you exactly what you're supposed to do and exactly how you're supposed to do it. Which is fine. Ultimately, I went on here and I was just like, I just want to make a really cool character. And I really just want to go in and really do the thing that I love, which is like a Justice League Dark style of character. That was like the one thing going in. I'm like, if I don't do anything else, that's what I want to do. Because there's so very few supernatural characters in DC. What's one more added to the roster? If anything, one thing that I kind of honestly wanted to go back here, and not anyone really does, was like, okay, well, if I'm going to play this game, like, my character, honestly, so it can be real to me, like, my character needs some kind of backstory. Why is this character just, alone? Like, shouldn't he be with the Justice League and frickin' be, going on and what have you, and, like, shouldn't he be a top tier? He's gonna be a villain. Shouldn't he be a top tier villain? Shouldn't he be a top tier hero? Realistically, my assessment from this is this guy is a villain because he used to be a hero. This character would be, of course, a magical character, which usually magical characters usually so overpowered in the DC spectrum of things that they never really get used, sadly enough, but it's just the way it is. If anything, my character, Grim Death, was a character that was just kind of like in the waiting room, being used with any team.
You have all the essence you need to enter the Sentinel's base. Go there now and take what is rightfully ours.
Like, rightfully, there were so many times where this character should have been used for some team, and it ended up falling through. Getting to ridiculous measures to where this hero got very, very bitter, like usual some characters do, like a booster gold or what have you. But here's how I'd see it playing out. I see it playing out as like a character that is usually being told that they're going to be tossed in the team. They're so powerful. Man, if only we can get our hands in this guy being placed on a team. And every time that this ends up miraculously, every single time that Grim Death is going to be possibly placed on a team, something happens to where that just doesn't work out. And then pretty much after that, every time, it's always the same excuse over and over again. It's like, well, you're not really an experienced hero, you're not experienced, so that's why we didn't pick you. It's like, well, so because I'm not experienced in a team capacity, that is the reason why I'm never picked for any of these actual teams. Legitimately, it's bugged him for ages now that he wasn't picked in the team of Justice League Dark. When Batman was. I'm like, Batman has been used in so many other teams before, and so has Superman. And that's where the problem lies. Is we'll just say the people who pick these teams, it's always just like, well,
$1,000 for the hungry already.
well, yeah, like Batman was just there, it was easy, and yeah, but it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. Like, it's just kind of like, this person already is in a team. It's like, are you gonna have him part-time on 3 to 4 different teams? This doesn't make sense. He already has a team, it's called Justice League. And he's barely in that. Why is he in so many teams? And it's just the same old rigmarole of, well, he's experienced, well, he's been in teams before, and it's just, like, you just see this person getting, as years pass, because of course this person, being almost like Spectre-like power, sorcery and what have you, and this person can really, either gadget-wise or magic-wise, really give people a show.
Enough. You have all the essence you need to enter the Sentinel's base. Go there now and take what is rightfully ours.
Like, this character can really, like, if needed to, he can be his own team. But, like, it would be nice to not be in the island of misfit toys. And that's kind of what this is kind of what this life of his has brought him, as just being the last to be picked for anything. Or even the person that has completely had been...
Oh no! We're under
forgotten to be picked for something. But he is always the person on the waiting list. He has to train vigorously with the Watchtower, up until the point to basically every training scenario. Like, he's trained too hard for this. It's like he studied so many things about so many characters while in the Watchtower, and like all the training scenarios he knows basically by heart now, to the point where he knows when everything is coming, to the point where he's basically just mocking whoever's going to give him the training, basically like, how quickly do I need to finish it this time around? Like, you've basically thrown everything at me, and I've succeeded. Like, when am I gonna get to the big show? When am I gonna get to the like, come on, either use me, or I got things to do. Like, I have a life of my own, and this is eating up much more time. Like, this is eating up a lot of time that I could be used, up, like, just waiting for, like, instead of waiting to be on call.
The Eye of Sin is protected by 3 flames of containment in the nearby antechambers. Reposition the flames to steal the eye.
Again, I feel there's a lot about this story that doesn't seem fresh. Kind of the whole real story is just, oh, well, Brainiac is coming. I've seen that countless times. If we could have honestly gotten somebody fresh,
out of enemy hands.
Somebody new,
I warn you, do not
for villains, I would have been okay with that. But again, we're left with Brainiac's story and what have you. Which I'm just like, okay, well, that's just kind of the way to just kind of like sell the minions, to sell whatever. But yeah, kind of like I said, this character was just kind of left in the wings, just to be wasted away. And so, realistically, this character usually got just bitter and what have you. Every single time that he would come a-running, whenever someone would need something, he would come a-running, and then Batman would show up, Superman would show up, Wonder Woman would show up, so he would just be like, why do I need to come running for you? Like, I can come in there in a split second and help you, but I'm just...
Turn from the dark path.
It's just... This is annoying. I come in here and I'm never quick enough. I show up and I'm at your door, I'm like, hey, you rang, and Batman's there, Superman's there, Wonder Woman, why even bother calling me? And so this character got so bitter to the point that, and really this would be a really interesting story to finally talk about all the characters that maybe possibly are the island of misfit toys for DC, but they'll probably never go this route. But yeah, realistically, this would be an interesting story simply because it'd be different. It'd be basically going the identity crisis route. Hopefully not maybe the beginning of that story, but If you know the original Identity Crisis story, you'll understand what I'm talking about. Really, realistically, for this character, he got bitter.
Your evil has no place here.
Like, realistically, Superman is always going to be seen as the greatest thing of all time. Batman, again, is going to be the greatest thing of all time, and
Blood's lackey is getting close. Look sharp.
And he honestly got bitter about that. He was like, you know what? Like, I don't get why these characters are the greatest thing since sliced bread. When you have several people that have a big power set that could be used, aren't being used, and are just like there just to stand around.
I've read this lexicon twice and can still only ask where the bathroom is.
Definitely collect all those little side things. I know there's going to be some people furious that I didn't collect every single side thing and what have you, but you could spend all the live long collecting every single thing and you probably will miss one or two things. But yeah, this character, I keep kind of coming back to the story, but character got bitter, and so realistically, eventually he just...
So you know, the Eye of Sin is not Trigon's actual eyeball, in case you were wondering.
His character got bitter, and so realistically, there was one time...
You now hold the Eye of Sin. Use it to corrupt mortal souls into wrath demons, and tip the balance in Chinatown back to us, where it belongs.
And I think this is where this will stop here. Yeah. Realistically, what I was trying to get to is this character was bitter, and just when whoever came a calling, he just completely just for one night just ignored them, because realistically, with how many hundreds and hundreds of times that he has ran out and just be like, yeah, I'm gonna help, and somebody else came. Out of the hundreds and hundreds of times that he's tried to be a part of this team, but end up being pushed aside, he just stopped going one night. And it wasn't because he had something better to do. It wasn't because he had his own crisis to deal with. He sat at home and did nothing. And that ended up costing a hero that we no longer hear about. A hero ends up dying because the one time out of 100 that this person does not go to this call because he's been called so many times and someone else showed up even before he could. He just decides to just sit at home. He's sick of this life. And it ends up getting called in the Watchtower. He ends up getting full on Justice League a talking to, because someone died on his watch. It's like, well, really? Was it my watch? Has it ever been my watch? And like, really, and they pull into the fact that it's like, you let a person die and you had nothing better to do. This is a reason why we call you guys, because there's the one chance that we need you and you don't come a-running, someone could die. And it's like, well, yeah, but I'm tired of this. I'm tired of you like, hey, do you want me to bring this guy back to life? I'll do it. But realistically, I'm not going to, because I think it's just proving a point. That with you, with every hero that falls, I can actually be a part of this. If I kill every single hero with my own hands, maybe that is you seeing that you should have chosen me first. I should have always been the guy number one on the pick list for every single team. And I am just so bitter and so angry that you guys felt that I was never good enough, that I am just going to watch you burn in bitterness because I should have always been the first thing that popped into your head. My power set outrivals so many other characters, even some of the big ones. And you have no you never felt that I could fit into your little club. So I'm gonna burn your clubhouse down. I freaking look honestly at Superman and I'm just like, what a waste. What a waste. Freaking looking at Batman is just like you have so many people that have a drop of a hat could save your city. But no, you gotta get your hands dirty all the time. Frickin', how about you take a night off for once? Let somebody else have a spot in the sunlight for a minute. But no. Leave somebody in the dark, pining away to the point that they no longer want to pine. So, I think that is the reason why eventually this person was pushed to be a villain, because what else could he be? It wasn't something that a tragic event shoved him in that way. It wasn't some, except for maybe a death of a hero, but realistically, the Justice League kind of banned him from legitimately being a hero in their Justice League team. So realistically, he was just pushed into just, well, F it. I'm going to do something else. I'll be a villain. I will freaking watch every single one of you, like I said, burn because freaking you are so stubborn, so pig-headed, and such a waste of life. So, except for maybe some of the lanterns. Not a waste of life. But I'm going to get out of here because I've talked for too much. And yeah, so I'm going to say goodbye, everybody. Bye, everybody. Yeah. Yeah, goodbye. Come on.